So it's the way of transformation, and it's called the wheel of transformation. Number 2, letting go. The more sensitive we are to those incorrect inner attitudes that signify an equally incorrect approach to life, the more it is a sign we are interpenetrated. We are interpenetrated by the divine presence. It can even be said that this presence sets free in us a harmonious and receptive form. A new feeling of conscience towards our way of being emerges, and this has as its corollary an increase in critical awareness. Eventually, this sensing of what is erroneous in our attitudes coincides with the impulse to let go that which is wrong or stands in the way of the right attitude. The action of steering a bicycle or car provides an illustration of this. The continual instinctive adjustments that are necessary if the vehicle is to be kept on a straight course cannot be separated, any more than cause and effect, from the driver's awareness of every minute deviation from the chosen direction. The more practiced he is, the more does his recognition of such deviation coincide with his adjustments. What do we mean by the expression letting go? It is evident that on the way to true being, there are many things from which we must inevitably be parted. This is best expressed by Master Eckhart. According to him, and it is an ancient truth, the letting go with which we are concerned is the letting go of our ego. This movement enables a man to extricate himself from the net in which his identification with his world ego continuously ensnares him. This letting go of the ego, however, means much more than merely relinquishing all those objects to which, during his lifetime, a man has become attached. It entails the giving up of the entire life pattern that has revolved around the positions taken by the ego. In this pattern, all our thinking, feeling, and doing is orientated towards whatever is firmly and finally established. Wherever man is held fast in the grip of any static system, whether of facts, attitudes, or values, his life in the world is impermeable to its real meaning. This meaning is always personal and is always in the process of transformation. The only attitude through which it can be discovered is one of inward knowing and existential realization. Letting go means forsaking the brilliance of the rational mind and entering what may be called the semi-darkness of another form of consciousness, in which is revealed an inner light. In this way alone can the rigidity which transfixes all thought and behavior be dissolved, and the kind of thinking that turns all things into objects give way and die. Only when we let go those attitudes wherein we rely solely upon what we have, know, and can do, will there arise a new consciousness in which the creative dynamism of life is contained. Letting go requires not only that we relinquish those imaginings that have determined our understanding in the past, but also the behavior that corresponds to them. The result of all rational, ego-centered points of view is a kind of willfulness. Therefore, the consequence of letting go must be the abandonment of any attitude that leads us to believe that everything depends upon our own doing. An ego oriented towards rational aims is always concerned with notions as to how life really ought to be. By letting go in the right way, we learn to let in and let happen that which, in spite of all our ideas, projections, desires, and prejudices, meets us directly in the shape of the world and comes upon the constantly stirring essential being within. The desire to do prevents us from hearing this inner call. By holding fast to conceptual patterns and images, we block the road to our union with divine being. Only when we're finally able to give up our ordinary way of thinking will we be able to receive and accept that which is, and, as a consequence, give ourselves without reserve to all that arises. Thus, we see that letting go requires that we give up any idea that life must be, and that what we expect and what we desire. Time and again, our faith is destroyed when the process of God's justice, inevitably incomprehensible to us, does not correspond with our conceptions as to how things should be. Therefore, the prerequisite for genuine faith is to give up all such conceptions. True faith develops only when life is accepted in whatever way that Providence, always inconceivably, offers it. It is brought to birth in us when we are able to receive from unfathomable life an absolute being that which, through all conditioning, strives towards the light in the form of our inner states, challenges, and impulses. As long as the ego, trapped in its fixations, dominates our lives, all chance of transformation is inhibited. The state of the ego, at any given moment, is manifested by us and recognizable to others by the way in which we are present. However, the process of letting go, the faulty attitude so revealed, is by no means a purely inward process. It consists in relinquishing and, as it were, melting down the incorrect physical postures which are themselves the incarnation and expression of the world ego's desire for security. When this letting go occurs, it will be obvious to the most casual observer from the way in which a man drops the hunched up shoulders that speak so strongly of the safety-seeking ego, loosens the lower jaw where the powerful and arbitrary self-will is established, relaxes the tense brow wherein the ego's gaze is transformed into a fixed stare, withdraws the rationally determined eye of the world ego in favor of the receiving and accepting gaze of the inward eye, and releases the belly, which, when pulled in, cuts him off from his basic energy, and makes of it a broad, fluent, and firmly rooted body center able to swing freely in the pelvic area. It should be remembered, however, that in trying to overcome faults in posture, we are not concerned merely with cramped bodily states, but rather with the manifold manifestations of a person who is inhibited at the center, caught in his world ego, and unable to trust in life. For this reason, if muscles are merely technically relaxed, letting go can never be accomplished in any lasting sense. Still less when, towards this end, use is made of injections and massage. It succeeds only when man learns to let himself go in his ego, which means to give himself trustingly to whatever comes. Wherever a particular tension makes itself physically felt, this is due to the fact that the relevant individual, through lack of proper trust, holds himself in and becomes tense. Letting oneself go requires, above all else, the inner conviction which enables us to feel, even if we relinquish our world ego, that we will by no means fall into nothingness. On the contrary, we will be upheld by a state of mind which frees us from relying solely on ourselves and our rational mind, and helps us to live from essential being and to participate in divine being. When a man has learned to yield to his essential being, He has overcome dependence on and fear of the world. The significance of letting go for what may be called our total posture lies in giving up that center of gravity which keeps man prisoner in the upper ego region of the body. As regards breathing, the importance of letting go lies in the change of emphasis from doing to admitting, from taking in to giving in. The place of the high, predominantly chest breathing, which separates us from the true center, there arises the natural diaphragm breathing, which at one and the same time liberates life and allows it to manifest in the true center. Every form of letting go has a cleansing and transforming effect, but the reader should be reminded that this is neither a purely technical, physical exercise nor a wholly inner psychic process. It is a personal gesture that, in an analytical sense, is psychologically and physically neutral. At our present level of understanding, it is all too easy to underestimate the significance of work on bodily attitudes and to look upon it simply as a technique for increasing the sense of bodily well being. Such a conception quickly leads to a sort of wrongly interpreted yoga and falsifies the effort by allowing it to become mere physical gymnastics. Properly practiced, however, that which from an analytical point of view may appear as the relation between inner and outer processes, is here seen as a twofold expression of the one, the person.